The Gallipolis Colony. Formation, people, and legacy. Origins and formation. The Gallipolis Colony, established in 1790, was born out of a complex web of land speculation, political turmoil, and the promise of a new life in America. Its roots can be traced back to the aftermath of the American Revolutionary War, when the newly formed United States government was eager to settle its western territories and pay off war debts. The Scioto Company, a group of land speculators led by Colonel William Dewar, saw an opportunity in the vast tracts of land in the Northwest Territory. They devised a scheme to purchase large areas of land from the Ohio Company of Associates, which had already secured a deal with the U.S. government for land in the Ohio Valley. Joel Barlow, a poet and diplomat, was sent to France as the Scioto Company's agent. His mission was to sell land to French investors, capitalizing on the growing unrest in France that would soon erupt into the French Revolution. Barlow painted an enticing picture of life in the Ohio Valley, describing fertile lands, abundant game, and the opportunity for a fresh start. The timing of Barlow's sales pitch was crucial. France was on the brink of revolution, and many aristocrats and wealthy citizens were looking for a way to safeguard their fortunes and possibly escape the coming upheaval. The promise of vast estates in America, where they could recreate a semblance of their privileged lives, was appealing. However, the entire venture was built on shaky foundations. The Scioto Company didn't actually own the land it was selling, it only had an option to buy from the Ohio Company. This legal technicality would later cause significant problems for the settlers. The journey and arrival. In early 1790, approximately 500 French settlers embarked on their journey to the New World. The group was diverse, including nobles, bourgeois merchants, craftsmen, and even a few former soldiers. Among the notable figures were the Comte de Barth, the Marquis de Premont, and Jean G. Gervais, a banker from Paris. The voyage across the Atlantic was arduous, and upon arrival in Alexandria, Virginia, the settlers faced their first major setback. They discovered that the land they had purchased was not yet prepared for their arrival. There were no roads, no cleared fields, and no housing awaiting them as promised. Undeterred, the group pressed on, traveling overland to Pittsburgh and then down the Ohio River. They finally reached their destination in October 1790, at a site near the confluence of the Ohio and Kanawha Rivers, in what is now Gallia County, Ohio. Early challenges and hardships. The reality that greeted the French settlers was a far cry from the paradise they had been promised. Instead of cultivated fields and comfortable homes, they found dense wilderness. The land was rugged, covered in thick forests, and prone to flooding from the nearby rivers. The settlers, many of whom were unused to physical labor and ill-equipped for frontier life, faced immense challenges. They had to clear land, build shelters, and prepare for the approaching winter, all while dealing with unfamiliar terrain and climate. Language barriers further complicated matters. Most of the French settlers spoke little to no English, making it difficult to communicate with neighboring American settlers or Native American tribes. This isolation exacerbated their struggles and slowed their integration into the broader frontier community. Perhaps the most devastating blow came when the settlers discovered the precarious legal status of their land claims. The Scioto Company's financial troubles meant that it had never actually purchased the land from the Ohio Company. The French settlers found themselves in the difficult position of having paid for land they didn't legally own. Intervention and assistance. The plight of the Gallipolis settlers did not go unnoticed. Major John Burnham, an officer who had served in the Revolutionary War, was sent by President George Washington to assist the struggling colony. Burnham helped organize the settlement, teaching the French how to build log cabins and survive in the wilderness. The United States government, recognizing the diplomatic implications of the situation, also stepped in. In 1795, Congress passed an act granting 24,000 acres of land to the Gallipolis settlers, known as the French Grant, or French 500. This area, located a few miles downstream from the original settlement, provided a legal basis for the colonists' claims and offered them a chance to establish more permanent roots. Notable individuals and their contributions. Several individuals played key roles in the Gallipolis colony's history. Joel Barlow, the American poet and diplomat who promoted the Scioto Company's land in France. While his actions led to the initial hardships, Barlow's eloquent descriptions of America attracted a diverse group of settlers who would contribute to the cultural fabric of the Ohio Valley. Comte de Barth, a French nobleman who became a leader among the settlers. He worked to maintain morale and helped organize the colony's affairs during its difficult early years. Jean G. Gervais, a Parisian banker who used his financial acumen to help manage the colony's resources and negotiate with American authorities. Major John Burnham, the American officer sent by President Washington to assist the settlers. His practical knowledge of frontier life was crucial in helping the French adapt to their new environment. Claude-François Montel, a cartographer who created some of the earliest maps of the region, contributing valuable geographic knowledge to the growing territory. The search for treasure, myths and realities. The idea of hidden treasures associated with the Gallipolis colony has captured imaginations for generations. While it's true that some of the French settlers came from wealthy backgrounds and likely brought valuable possessions with them, the notion of vast, undiscovered caches of treasure is largely the stuff of legend. Several factors contribute to these treasure myths. The aristocratic background of some settlers. The presence of French nobility in the group has led to speculation about jewels, gold, and other valuables they might have brought to safeguard their wealth. Reports of buried valuables. There are anecdotal accounts of settlers burying their valuables for safekeeping, especially during times of hardship or threat from Native American raids. The rapid dispersal of the colony. As many settlers left Gallipolis due to hardships, stories arose about abandoned or forgotten treasures. Cultural artifacts. The French settlers brought items of cultural significance, including books, artworks, and fine furniture. While these may not constitute traditional treasure, they represent valuable historical artifacts. However, the reality of the settlers' situation makes the existence of large, undiscovered treasures unlikely. Financial struggles. Many settlers exhausted their resources in purchasing land and supplies. The colony's overall poverty is well documented. Practicality. Any valuable items brought from France would likely have been sold or traded for necessities as the settlers faced hardship. Thorough exploration. Over the past 2 centuries, the area has been extensively settled and developed, making it improbable that large caches of valuables would remain undiscovered. Lack of concrete evidence. Despite persistent rumors, no significant treasures related to the Gallipolis colony have ever been verified or recovered. While the idea of hidden Gallipolis treasures remains a romantic notion, the true value of the colony lies in its historical significance and the cultural contributions of its settlers. Dispersal and assimilation. As the legal issues surrounding land ownership were resolved and the settlers adapted to frontier life, the distinct character of the Gallipolis colony began to fade. Several factors contributed to this. Outmigration. Many of the original settlers, disillusioned by the hardships they faced, chose to leave the area. Some returned to France, while others moved to more established American cities like New Orleans or Charleston. American immigration. As news of the available land spread, American settlers began moving into the region, gradually outnumbering the French. Intermarriage. Those French settlers who remained often married into American families, accelerating their assimilation into the broader culture. Economic integration. As the Ohio Valley developed, the remaining French settlers became increasingly involved in regional trade and commerce, further integrating them into American society. By the early 19th century, Gallipolis had transformed from a distinctly French settlement into a typical American frontier town, albeit one with a unique heritage, legacy and historical significance. Despite its relatively short existence as a cohesive French colony, Gallipolis left a lasting imprint on the region. Cultural contributions. The French settlers introduced new architectural styles, culinary traditions, and social customs to the Ohio Valley. Linguistic influence. While French did not remain the dominant language, many place names and family names in the region reflect the colony's French origins. Agricultural innovations. Some of the settlers brought expertise in viticulture and introduced new crop varieties to the area. Educational impact. French settlers established schools and brought a tradition of formal education that influenced the region's development. Historical lessons. The Gallipolis experiment provided valuable lessons about the challenges of frontier settlement and the need for better regulation of land sales. Reasons for historical obscurity. Despite its fascinating history, the Gallipolis colony remained relatively obscure for many years. Several factors contributed to this. Short-lived nature. The colony's rapid assimilation meant that its distinct character was visible for only a brief period. Limited documentation. The frontier setting and the settlers' struggles meant that comprehensive records were not always kept or preserved. Overshadowing by larger historical events. The colony's story was often eclipsed by broader narratives of westward expansion and the founding of the new nation. Geographic isolation. The colony's location in what was then a remote part of the Northwest Territory meant that it received less attention from historians focused on more central or accessible regions. Lack of dramatic conflict. Unlike some other frontier settlements, Gallipolis did not experience major battles or conflicts that might have drawn historical attention. Rediscovery and modern interest. In recent decades, there has been renewed interest in the Gallipolis colony. Local historical societies, organizations in Gallia County and surrounding areas have worked to preserve and promote the colony's history. Academic research. Historians have begun to recognize the colony's significance in understanding early American immigration and settlement patterns. Cultural tourism. The unique French heritage of the region has become a draw for tourists interested in early American history. Genealogical interest. Descendants of the original settlers have sparked interest in tracing family histories back to the colony. Broader historical narratives. The story of Gallipolis is increasingly being incorporated into larger narratives about the diversity of early American settlement. The Gallipolis colony represents a unique chapter in early American history. Born out of a combination of European political turmoil, American land speculation, and the promise of a new life on the frontier, it embodies many of the complex forces shaping the young United States. While the colony did not fulfill the grand visions of its founders or the dreams of many of its settlers, it left an indelible mark on the Ohio Valley. The story of Gallipolis is one of resilience in the face of adversity, of cultural exchange and adaptation, and of the diverse strands that wove together to form the fabric of American society. The legacy of Gallipolis extends beyond the physical boundaries of its settlement. It serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by early immigrants, the complexities of frontier life, and the ongoing process of cultural integration that has characterized much of American history. As for the treasures of Gallipolis, while physical riches may remain elusive, the true wealth of the colony lies in its historical significance, the stories of its people, and the cultural heritage it imparted to the region. In studying Gallipolis, we gain valuable insights into the hopes, struggles, and achievements of those who sought to build new lives in a young and growing nation.